Hello and welcome back to The Royal Trap. Okay, what's the betting that this guy has been getting the maid to dress up as the princess? Yep, thought so. Hanging lamp, heaps of discarded clothing, pots of cosmetic pasties, scattered cushions, and no princess. Just in case I call out, Cassidy? Please, you have to leave. Look at me. I'm not leaving until you tell me what's going on. Your master is up to something, isn't he? No! You've got a wig made to look like Cassidy. Were you supposed to draw a pursuit? Where is Prince Gaston? She shakes her head and doesn't answer me. I can help you. As long as we find the princess alive, you'll be alright. The king will reward you, or Oscar's father will if that's needed. You'll have a new job, a new home. I don't actually have the authority to make any of those promises, of course, but it doesn't matter at the moment. No, it's not like that. With the sound from the hallway beyond, she stiffens, letting the illicit hairpiece fall from her hands. He's coming! There's no time to hide. The best I can do is lean up against the wall, where I won't be easily noticed until after someone enters the room. Will wish to see me first, of course. She will be so frightened she will need my strong arms to lean on. My lord, it is imperative that you remain in your room. You're not real men, you do not appreciate the power of a destined romance. Or do you wish to take my place as a hero, is that it? You, who will have no spirit, no fire. I know my place and I will fight for it. You will remain here. Oh, very well. It is not every path of true love beset with obstacles. The guard withdraws, and Prince Gaston turns away from the door, his handsome face marred with a pout. Only then does his gaze fall upon me. Well, what do we have here? Before I can speak, he's closed the gap between us. The scent of him so near. It's heady but not unpleasant, but it is dizzying, like brandy wine drunk too fast. His skin is warm, his fingers broad and strong, and I'm at his mercy here where I don't belong. A little songbird caught in my net. His voice is just all over the goddamn place, I apologise. Of course you could not resist my dazzling charms, and who could blame you for that? I was just visiting with your maid, which would sound more believable if I bothered to learn her name. But what is this? It cannot be. Is it truly so difficult for him to imagine that I must have been visiting someone other than himself? You are pledged to another. What? Oh, his nose, my necklace. Oh, fair songbird, I know the torment you must feel, but no, you must resist. We are two stars who pass in the night, you and I. We see each other's lights from afar, but we are each set to our own course. I must remain true to my love, and you to yours. No, say no more. We must deny this temptation, fly away and never look back. With only two mighty strides, he sweeps me out the door. Farewell, my songbird. And then he's gone, and the door closes and locks behind me. I take a deep breath, clearing my head with the fresh air. Could he really believe all those things he said? Or was it just an act to remove me from his room before I learned anything more? From what I overheard, it didn't seem like he had harmful intentions towards Princess Cassidy, but he did leave his assigned room for some reason, and his maid clearly had her own secrets. Whatever the truth may be, the consequence is clear. I won't gain entry to those rooms again so easily. Once more I slip into the hidden halls. There's no sign of the page Dolores, nor any other observers. This doesn't reassure me. I've been too long, too little accomplished. I must return to Oscar. I wish I had more to tell him. He's done nothing wrong, I know he hasn't. An honest investigation cannot point back to him because he's innocent, logically. Therefore, this mess should not come to roost over his heads. But that doesn't mean that it won't. It's my task to defend him in all ways, to guard him from danger, to save him from dishonour, to represent him in the best possible light. Rescuing a lost princess would make him a hero, one that anyone would want as a husband. What greater laurel could I earn for him? That, of course, is if I succeed. If I don't, if this scandal is put into his name. No, I will not fail him. I will find Cassidy. But first I must speak with Oscar and tell him what little I have learned. Only to see if it sparks any clue. There was again no one on guard in front of our rooms, so it was simple for me to unlock the door and slip back inside. Oscar was not on hand to greet me, maybe resting his sore head, which was worrying in itself. He was knocked unconscious earlier, however briefly, and his injury may be worse than it appeared. Of course, he may simply have found somewhere to distract himself in my absence. I should call out quietly, give him warning of my approach. Before I could speak, a figure barrels out of the bedroom, and it's not Oscar, an intruder. At once, my daggers are in my hands. The strange man attacks with a powerful overhead strike, a move generally only useful for splitting melons. Even caught off guard, I had more than enough time to brace and catch his stroke with my blades. My angle is not good enough to push him back more than a few steps. By that point, I can assume a better stance. He comes at me again, testing my reflexes. One move of his longsword towards my eye, and then circling down to slice my feet. Both times easily brushed aside. Then from my middle, and this time I catch the blade again, twisting to hold his sword up and wave the hilt of my dagger in my right hand, while I push in and slash at his hands with the one in my left. He jerks back, clearly fearful of any injury to his hands, and leaves himself open. I pursue, spinning as I move in to hide my precise target, and with one move I drive the dagger backwards, up into his heart. But no, he ran further than I expected, and I catch only the air. I turn my head to find my target behind me and to the side, again making a wild overhead swing. Too late to turn, I dive to the floor and roll to come facing up in the correct direction. His sword slices through empty air and onto the floor, scarring the wood. He's overbalanced. Diving in my heels, I grab the plush end of the embroidered rug behind him and yank. My assailant stumbles, falling back against the heavy marble fireplace while I climb to my feet. It's like that impact left a bruise, but nowhere near enough to get him out of the fight. He has reach and strength, but not much skill, I think. It's time to take the offensive. I bare my teeth and snarl and leap forward, tapping his sword at full speed with the first dagger, and then the other, getting him used to the patterns of parrying. When the moment comes, I trap his sword between my blades and give it a wrench that would have sent it flying from the hand of an untrained man. This one retains his grip. For the moment, his weapon is neutralized. I force him up against the wall, too close for him to bring the sword to bear, and look into the eyes of my enemy. It is Prince Callum. By the blue sky, what do you think you're doing? Testing you. I could have killed you! He smirks at me, casually eases his sword from my control. I don't think so. A prince should have the best tutors and more skill in sword fighting than the clumsy attack he demonstrated on me, that's true. Of course, he's one of many, a neglected younger son, as he said. Why are you here? I require your aid. You want to get my help, breaking into my room and attacking me? I need to be sure you wouldn't freeze in a crisis. I need a pair of hands I can rely on, not another burden. For what? He shrugs me aside and takes a few long strides away, before turning back to answer over his shoulder. A task that calls for the sort of woman who climbs out of windows, slips locks, and draws a blade at a moment's notice. You want me to spy for you? And do you think you can trust me for that? You don't know me, you must have servants of your own. I need someone with no connections. That means you, Volise of Osundar. You are going to do exactly as I tell you for two reasons. One, because I need your help to rescue my sister. And two, he pulls open the inner door, revealing a factor that I should have considered earlier. Because if you don't, I'll slit your master's throat. Oscar. Bugger. Drowning my heart's panic cry, I force myself to examine the situation in detail. Oscar's eyes are wide over the silky gag, over the stray hose. I don't see any sign of further injury or struggle. Callum's actions must have taken me completely by surprise. How could either have guessed that the prince is a madman? Think. Stall for time. Think. You can't possibly mean that. You're already suspect. This beaut... He nudges very slightly with his blade and Oscar flinches. Was the last one with my sister. And you have been creeping around like a spider. If I kill you both and claim self-defense, either one will have questions. That presumes you can win. Perhaps you could hold me off with your little stings, but it's too late for your livelihood here. You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare murder a visiting prince, especially not like this, tied up, blood all over your clothes. If I scream for the guards, you couldn't possibly have time to clean up the evidence. He laughs. Clever. You are the one I need. I don't want his blood or any part of it. But if I can't make a deal, I will have to call for the guards. Well, then we'll see what happens. What do you want from me? Your oath. You serve me without question until Cassidy is safe. And no knife in my back. Then you expect me to cooperate when you're threatening my friend. I need a partner I can trust, absolutely. And this is the only leverage I've got. I don't have time to argue. Your oath, now. There's no choice to be made. can't let him harm Oscar. Fine, I'll do what you want. Formal oath. He presses his bare palm to the edge of his sword, just long enough to break the skin, and holds it out to me. A blood vow, that's what he wants. My hand and my blood match to his, my honor subject to his will. A privilege that, until now, has belonged to Oscar alone. By that bond I can't refuse. Fighting down a feeling of panic at events moving beyond my power to control them, I remove my glove, scratch across my palm. And before Oscar's eyes I place my hand in Callum's, skin to skin. I offer you my service and obedience, until the rescue of Princess Cassidy. Within limits. I won't murder for you and I won't die for you. If any harm comes to Oscar, the deal is off. Pushy, aren't you? But he takes his sword away from Oscar's throat and in one motion sheathes it. You said you wanted a partner. Partners speak up. If you don't mind, I'd like to take that thing off him now. Oh, as long as you can keep him under control. My fingers are already moving to loosen the gag. Ugh. Maddie, what are you doing? You can't work for him. He's lost his head. I glare at Oscar and hope for once that he read the message in my eyes. Don't provoke him. It's too late for arguments now. My oath is given. This is the situation we have, so we'd better make the best of it. If he's trying to save the princess, he is our ally. But staying close to Callum, we should be able to keep an eye on him. Well, I can explain that at the moment. Please, Oscar, trust me. He's a knock-knee, double-crossing sneak. I liked him better with the muzzle. I waved my hands through the air, gesturing the two of them apart. Both of you! No biting! But... fine. This day keeps building up, more and more apologies that I owe him. It's all worthwhile so long as he's safe, and, well, whole, for me to apologise to. So how are we supposed to rescue Cassidy? The whole castle's looking for her already. What do you know that they don't? I have the ransom note. We bring the gold, they bring the princess. How do you know it's genuine? There was a lock of her hair. We sure it's her hair and not from the wig? Anyway, if you have a rendezvous point, why not take some guards and go fetch her? You do what I say without questions. Right. He said he needed someone without connections. Perhaps he's afraid that any guard he relied on could be in the employ of the Duke and the Duchess. It'd be easy to arrange an accident during a hostage exchange. He's paranoid, but not completely without reason. Oscar sighs and leans heavily against the doorframe. He's looking a bit pale, and this day has taken a heavy emotional toll on him. Come on, we have work to do. Just you, Valise. He stays here. Leave Oscar alone. Okay, we better go. Fine. Wait, what am I supposed to do? Sit. Be quiet. Don't talk to anyone. Or else. He jerks his thumb in my direction. Perfect symmetry. Me threatens Oscar, or Oscar threatens me. But I'll be alright. I'd rather have Oscar away from Callum. He'll be safe here. I don't want to be safe. I want to help. Must I demonstrate a weakness to you once again? I said no biting. Leave him alone. Oh, very well. We should go. So what now? We need to assemble the ransom money. 2,000 golden ducators. That's quite a sum. Not that much for a princess, really. I suppose our kidnapper lacked imagination. You don't happen to have that gold sitting around in your chambers. No, we'll have to obtain it from the royal treasury. This is your palace, can't you just requisition funds? We need to obtain the coin without attracting notice. Rob the royal treasury, right? How does he imagine we're going to pull that off? Picking locks out of the question, treasuries are always guarded. And yet, despite myself, I'm starting to find the prospect interesting. It's a challenge, a puzzle, that I can understand and solve. This is why I needed a suitably discreet partner. Or rather, suitably distracting. I hope you don't expect me to jiggle at the guards. I'd look ridiculous. Too obvious. I have a plan. It all depends on how convincing you can be. Yeah, it's nice. Hopefully they're not going to go for the blatantly obvious, trying to sucker the guards with a bit of teasing, because frankly, you'd have to be an idiot to fall for that. And I'd like to think these places don't hire really stupid goons. The carpet beneath my feet is thick and plush, muffling the sound of my footfalls. Which is not to say that there's no warning at my approach. In this part of the palace, the walls are inset with viewing windows, enabling guards to keep an eye on foot traffic in all directions. After all, you wouldn't want anyone being able to sneak into the royal treasury. One guard on duty, his attentive gaze dutifully sweeping back and forth with the occasional check behind him. There is a little in the way of extra ornamentation in these corridors. No paintings on the walls, no hothouse blooms forced into shadow. Only the patterned and gilding ceiling tiles. I crane my neck upwards to stare at the muted, non-reflective golden surfaces, paying no attention to where I'm walking. Oh! That is, of course, the moment that my foot catches on the edge of that plush length of carpet, throwing me to the ground with a thump. I don't cry out all that loudly. I've only tripped, it's nothing serious. I'll just climb back to my feet. Ow! And that is when I first attempt to put weight on my left ankle. This time the noise I'm making is enough to draw the guards a few steps away from his post. Still more than close enough to see anyone approaching, but now able to get a better look at me. Are you alright, miss? Oh, I'm fine. I wave him away and try again to place my foot on the ground and then pull it back with a sharp hiss and clutch at the wall for support. I distinctly do not look at the guard, but male instinct prompts him to step a little closer to my obvious and false distress. Can you walk? I'm not sure. I'll call for another guard to help you to your room. No, please don't. I'll be alright, I just need to rest for a few minutes. You can't rest here, miss. I use the wall for support and take a hesitant step, trying to look as fragile as possible. Just a bit longer. If you can't walk on your own, I'll have to summon someone else. I don't want to be a bother. It is my duty. No need. Prince Callum walks out of the treasury, which he entered earlier in full view of the guard, under the pretext of returning a bit of royal jewellery worn at the ball. Long, smooth strides bring him swiftly to my side, avoid the possibility of any inconvenient jingling. I will escort this young woman. Yes, your highness. Callum bends, bringing his shoulders to a level where I can more easily fling a grateful arm around them. As he straightens, his support pulls me against him, not so coincidentally happening to conceal the faint bulge produced by stowing a large bag of coins out of sight. He nods to the guard. Carry on. And we leave the man to lock the door behind us, now that the gold has already flown away. We keep up the charade on our return to Oscar's quarters, in case of observation. Caution costs nothing, except my pride. I cannot help but feel strange, clinging as I am to the body of a man I barely know. A prince of hidden schemes and unpredictable violence. Callum was well muscled, stronger and more solidly built than Oscar, and pressed so close to me that I could feel the heat of his flesh. My duties to my prince have not left me much time for experience with the rougher sex. The sport of his arm should, I suppose, make me feel safe and protected, but instead it makes me feel off balance and vulnerable. It would be easy in this position for him to accidentally brush to slide a possessive arm around my waist, to belittle me for the helplessness I've been made to fail. And his hands never stray. Failure to act like an odious brute at every opportunity doesn't make him a hero. It just means that, at worst, he's not that sort of villain. But what sort of man is Prince Callum? So far he's revealed little but anger and ruthless determination. I've been forced to give him my allegiance, and for safety's sake I must pretend complete loyalty. That doesn't stop me from thinking. He secretly suggests that he has enemies within the palace, or else he was quite clearly bitter about his position as the only son. It doesn't seem that Frederick and Paloma are spending much effort to polish him for a good marriage. But if you rescued a princess from peril, the same act of heroism that I had hoped to achieve for Oscar, might instead benefit Callum. He couldn't be rewarded with his sister's hand, of course, but the story of travel. If that's his plan, it would make no difference to him if Oscar would receive a small bit of glory, or even the affections of this particular princess. It would still stand to gain. But, rationally, is the chance of playing hero worth the risk he took by attacking myself and Oscar, by threatening murder? That doesn't add up. There's something I'm not seeing, or Callum is not acting rationally, which is worse. I actually have a theory about him. I'd really like to hear it? Well, tough, you're going to hear it anyway. I suspect the prince is probably gay, which would explain why his family's not too happy with him and why there's been no real effort to try and set him up with a suitable woman. This is a guess, but it makes sense based on information we have at the moment. I am perfectly willing to accept that I could well be wrong, but if that turns out to be the case, I'm not going to be even slightly surprised. The instant the door closes behind us, Oscar rushes to my side. Madeline, I'm fine, it was an act. I retract my arm from Callum's shoulders and stand on my own 2 feet. Your assistance was competent. Is that supposed to be a thank you? But you can't thank someone for doing what you forced them to do, can you? Oscar, it's alright. No, it's not. He turns to face Callum. Are you done with her? Hardly. This was only the first step. We have the ransom, now we need to reach the rendezvous. And where's that? Forest, a couple of miles away. Outside the palace? The guards may have missed the initial intrusion, but they're certainly going to be guarding all the exits now. Which means, you know, a secret way out. He only nods, his eyes locked on Oscar's. I held my breath, anticipating an explosion, but when Oscar speaks, his words are carefully measured. You're not taking her without me. I need a blade I can rely on. That means her and not you. I'm not actually that bad with a sword. Whatever's going on, you expect it might end in a fight. Wouldn't 3 on your side be better than 2? He's thinking it through. Good for you, Oscar. If you really didn't trust him, you wouldn't want to leave him here while you're not even in the palace. Can he actually fight? Would you care to try me? I'm asking her, not you. He's a prince, of course he can fight. But is he any good compared to, say, myself? Well, that's a question of the trap, plain and simple. Whatever I say, they'll both hear it. He's good in a fair fight. He's good enough in a fair fight. Fairness may be in short supply. He won't embarrass you if that's what you're asking. In all truth, I'm not certain whether or not it's a good idea to take Oscar along. It depends on what Callum's plans really are. And that is a question I can't answer. He's assembled a ransom, but as Oscar said, he sounds like he's preparing for a fight. Maybe he's just guarding himself in case the kidnappers try to capture him as well, or maybe there's something else going on here. There's a battle waiting for us, Oscar could get hurt. But with all those secrets and schemes going on here, I'm not sure that leaving him behind would be safer. If Callum actually didn't trust Oscar, he might have arranged for something to happen to him once I was out of the way, or for any of the nobles to come around asking questions. No, I can't leave the palace without him. It's my responsibility. I must not abandon him. I can never forgive myself if something went wrong without me there to defend him. And if it comes to battle, then at least I would have someone to rely on who, at my back, whose loyalty I could rely on. Callum I just can't trust. Oscar I could never doubt. He blows out a breath. I suppose it will have to do. You may accompany me, but without your sword, I will decide if you should have one. Just remember who's in command here, and whatever you see or hear, you do what I tell you. I understand. Which isn't quite the same as a promise to obey. Callum looks at me. I expect you to keep an eye on him. I always do. Because if he betrays me, he will pay. The blunt reminder that Callum is not our new friend leaves the room silent for a moment. Should I fetch a purse then? Not funny. She doesn't like my jokes. She doesn't like my poetry either. Would you like to hear some? Will you be quiet? See, we're getting along fine. I can't help smiling along with him. Even though there's such tension, nothing dampens his spirit for long. But my role is to be focused and responsible, so I better get back to playing it. So, you have the ransom with you and you have your backup. Where do we find this secret exit? And how certain are you that it's still secret and unguarded? What if someone's been using it? Oh, the entrance is hidden and known only to the royal family, and the door behind it is kept locked. If you get through that, you end up somewhere that most people would not want to go. Sewers? Oh, crypts, okay. Sewers or crypts, they're the common ones. The underground tunnels that Callum led us to are choked with rubble and spiderwebs. It's visibly obvious that no one has been this way in a long time. The entrance was the worst, the stones overhead cracking and crumbling and threatening to collapse at any moment. But as we moved along, the state of repair has increased. So has the unpleasant atmosphere. The air down here is fetid, and insects are constantly flapping at the edges of our torchlight. What is this place? Hundreds of years ago, when customs were different, these were the catacombs. The bodies of those who died in service were laid here to rot, so that even in death their spirits would remain beneath their masters. It's awful. It's the way things were. When times change, parts of these tunnels will be reworked into a sewerage system that feeds the river. Oh, so it's a crypt and a sewer. Charming. Well, that explains the bugs. And the smell. Watch yourself, little prince. Where there are insects, there are spiders, and some of them bite. As we ease along a narrow stone ledge, Callum's shoulder comes into contact with a bit of loose rubble in a wall niche, and knocks it out of place. A pale-bellied snake, dislodged from his slumber, falls onto his arm and begins to writhe. Ugh! Calmly, Oscar reaches over and scoops the snake off Callum. Onto the floor, it slithers away. You were saying? Oscar? Don't worry, those aren't poisonous. I think. Is it actually dangerous down here? It isn't safe, but I wouldn't have brought you if I expected it to be fatal. Did you explore here as a child? No. Once. There's nothing to see but rocks and bones and filth. There wasn't any point. No hidden treasure. Who would leave anything precious among the bodies of dead peasants? Their families? Their families were peasant families. They had nothing of value. Unless they'd stolen it from their masters and then they keep it for themselves. Thieves are not generous. You're such a cynic. Ugh. There once was a sourpuss from Guelenor who poshed and puffed till he was good and sore. Do you ever stop talking? When I'm asleep? Once we leave these tunnels, it is imperative that we remain silent. There may be guards on watch. If you can't handle that, then turn back now or you'll have us all shot. Oscar's only joking with you. He wouldn't put us in danger. In the distance I hear a kind of rustling. What was that? Bats. We're definitely getting closer now. Watch your step. As predicted, the dark tunnels eventually give way to a natural brook, gurgling quietly in the night. Behind us looms the deceptively calm shadow of the palace, too far away for us to see the patterns of the guards or for them to see us. This is unknown territory, far from the roads that Oscar and I travelled. Not even a path can be seen amongst the trees and the grass. We must rely on Callan to be our guide. He motions closer and speaks in a low tone. Keep an eye out for centipedes. The bite won't kill you, but your screams will draw notice. With no further explanation, he moves out, leaving us to follow. Neither Oscar and I is an expert in woodscraft, but neither of us are strangers to the outdoors. Oscar in particular always loved climbing trees or games of catch-catch in the forest. Thus I know how to place my feet to avoid making too much noise, and which bits of the brush are more likely to hide creatures who will retaliate for being disturbed. Daring robberies, ancient tunnels, and sneaking away in the dark to save a lost princess. It's very close to being an entertaining adventure. Callum leads us along the water's edge in silence for some time, and eventually he stops by a grassy bank. We'll set up camp here. Camp? What about the rendezvous? It's tomorrow. We're spending the night out here? Was that not obvious? If it had been obvious earlier, we could have brought supplies, blankets, food from the kitchen. Dinner is over. How many meals a day do they eat in Oswindar? In Oswindar, we eat a good breakfast before a hard day's work. Or a fight. It's alright, once the sun's up we can hunt for plants. And within the stream right here we could even fish. No hook, line or net. Right. Well, we can still find food, it'll be fun. This is not fun. Then what is it? If you tell us more about what you're planning, we'd better be able to help you. Oh, you know enough. You know, she promised not to ask questions, but I didn't. I am not interested in your nattering. All I want to do is help Cassidy. You understand that, don't you? I liked her and I let her down. I couldn't protect her. I owe her the best that I can give and I'll do my best. But to do that, I need to know what you know. You don't need anything. Please. Not even Callum can hold out against those eyes forever. I certainly couldn't. Oh, fine, ask your questions, but I don't promise to answer. Do you know who it is that has Cassidy? No, but it doesn't matter. This isn't politics, this is a crime about coin. How do you know that? You don't need to know. Ugh. What are you expecting to happen tomorrow? We find the location ahead of time and the two of you put yourselves out of sight and stay there. They expect me alone. If we are betrayed and if Cass is in danger, you are my reserves. If everything goes to plan, then when Cass is safe and they think they've won, you take them. So you're double-crossing them. You object? They're criminals, they don't deserve to get away with it. No, I agree, but there's only 3 of us. There's a limit to how much we can do. Plate pickers like these have no loyalty. Don't expect more than 1 or 2 at the most. If there's a full company, then don't waste your strength. If they are few, then show no mercy. Understood. Good. He rolls his head around his shoulders, stretching out the tension. You should get some sleep. You'll need to be up at dawn to find a position. Especially if you expect to forage. I better find some leaves for a mattress. The two young men walk off in different directions, leaving me alone. So far, this doesn't seem to be turning out too badly. If Callum's telling the truth, then tomorrow we should be able to save Cassidy and bring her safely home. The palace will be in panic from the night's searching, but the prince and princess beside us will be greeted as heroes. If. Well, that to me seems like a pretty decent point to end this video, so I will say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next part.